Following is sponsored programming and does not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of KHTS or its ownership.
Good morning, Awesome Town. Yeah, and welcome in. You're listening to KHTS, your hometown station, 1220 AM and 98.1 FM. This is SCVi Charter Schools, Eye on the Valley. I'm your host, Matt Watson. As my listeners know, SCVi is a TK through 12th grade tuition-free public charter school here in the Santa Clarita Valley. Our show, Eye on the Valley, aims to inform our listeners about the Santa Clarita Valley and also discuss and introduce listeners to SCVi and iLead's family of students and staff. My first guest this morning is an impressive and passionate lady who's become a standout leader wherever she goes. She's a graduate of Moore Park High School, yeah, go Mountaineers, and UC Santa Barbara, where she received her degree in psychology. She quickly moved into roles educating and serving children in and around her community, including her work as the director of the Huntington Learning Center in Woodland Hills and as the founder of the GED program at Santa Barbara Business College. Wow, impressive. That program's designed to reach adults in the community to get them the education and diploma that they'll need to put them on the path of success themselves. She's also worked as Associate Director of Education at one of my favorite places in the world, the Ronald Reagan Presidential Library, where she managed the Air Force One Discovery Center, where my son actually served as Secretary of State during the invasion of Grenada on an amazing interactive field trip when he was in 5th grade. She has a passion for immersive, hands-on learning. She's skilled at building successful award-winning programs and working in the nonprofit industry. And she currently works as director of the Poverty Encounter at the Children's Hunger Fund in Sylmar, just a stone's throw away from where we are here in the studio. She's doing good work wherever she goes and is an inspiration to us all. It's a pleasure to have in studio with me Alissa Whiteley. Alissa, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, we're glad you're here with us. First off, before we get into the Poverty Encounter, why don't you start by telling us a little bit about the Children's Hunger Fund? I understand that it had a beautifully humble and grassroots beginning. How was it all started, and what's the mission of the work that y'all do today?
Absolutely. Well, Children's Hunger Fund has been around since 1991, and it started out of the garage of our president and founder, Dave Phillips, along with his wife, Lynn, who lived in Simi Valley at the time, still do. And it was shortly just before the Northridge earthquake, actually, when they were reaching churches and distributing food and resources locally and in the valley.
So before the earthquake in
just
91?
Before, exactly.
Oh, wow. Okay, so they saw the need and reached out to supply it. That's great.
They saw a need and they filled it, and then when the earthquake happened, they were just inundated with an influx of donations from corporations, and it really is what helped propel them into the national, the front line, so that they could do even more in this area. Since that time, they've grown Children's Hunger Fund to, we're headquartered here in Sylmar, as you mentioned. We have a Dallas and a San Antonio distribution center.
Wow.
And we are in 24 other countries around the world.
Oh, that's amazing. So you're not just reaching children here in our local communities, nationwide and around the world, 24 different countries.
Yes.
That's incredible. You know, if you're unlucky, I may ask you to name all 24 a little bit later in the show, but I probably won't.
Thank you.
So you head up the Poverty Encounter. That sounds like an intense experience and reminds me of some of the other museums that we have in town. So what can you tell us about that experience?
Yeah, so we celebrated our 1-year anniversary a few weeks ago, and Poverty Encounter is best described as a museum-like experience where guests of all ages can come, go through, they board a real airplane because they're going to be traveling to 4 different immersive countries in the developing world. So they visit Guatemala, they visit Haiti, Nepal, and Romania before they start to go back to the United States. And really the focus is educating guests on what poverty looks like around the world, specifically those living and children living in extreme poverty, which is living on $1.90 a day or less.
Wow. And such an eye-opening experience. We have the good fortune and the blessing to live in a country and in a state and in a city that really has prospered over the last decades and centuries, really. We really are fortunate, but the downside of that, as a parent, I know growing up in our community, oftentimes kids don't really see some of the more abject poverty that exists in our world. And so you provide them the opportunity to virtually travel the world and see how some of the less fortunate, like you said, those suffering extreme poverty, live and the conditions that they're forced to live in.
Absolutely. And it's not just children who we are opening their eyes and getting them to understand that living here in the United States, other children do not live like this. They don't know when they're going to get their next meal. They don't have a comfortable bed with a pillow and blankets.
Sure.
They could be living in a tent city, as in Haiti since the 2010 earthquake.
Right.
So we're sharing these stories, but it's really adults too. We hear so often adult guests taking their families through saying, I had no idea. And so, we think we have an understanding of what poverty looks like,
Sure.
but really, and it's not to downplay poverty that we have in our own backyard.
Right.
It absolutely exists, but just the level of which these children are growing up in around the world is just, it's quite astounding. And it's really important that we inform ourselves on that.
Wow. So I guess you get kind of an interesting snapshot of meeting these families that come in and these organizations that come in, and then seeing how over the course of, I'm guessing it's probably an hour or two, the experience, and then when they come out, how do you see lives changed and perspectives changed as they come through the experience?
Yeah, that's a really great question. Sometimes it's immediate. I mean, when they first go on the airplane, they're really excited. It's mysterious. They don't know where they're going. And then very quickly, when we start to explain, okay, these are places we're stepping into, homes that are often unseen by the rest of the world. And we thank them for showing respect and compassion, knowing that they are replicas of where people are actually living. So the tone really becomes very serious.
Sure.
And then when they step into that first environment, which is a dump in Guatemala, and they meet Bruno, a 12-year-old boy who's living there, and he's a real boy, and he really does live in a dump. Immediately sometimes you can see just tears welling up, and the children are just very impacted right away. But that being said, our goal isn't to devastate people.
Sure.
We don't want them to feel like this is just a hopeless situation, and nothing good can come of it. So throughout the tour, really showing how it's the churches that are in these countries that are providing food and resources and really sharing God's love with these families. And so by the end, we weave that story throughout.
Okay.
And they get an opportunity to make an impact themselves at the end by going into our volunteer center and spending 30 minutes bagging food. It could be beans or rice or macaroni, whatever the project
wow.
of the day is. But even the youngest guest, 2 or 3 years old, they can put labels, which are stickers,
Sure.
on the bags. And there's something for everyone to do. They weigh it and they bag it, they seal it, and they know that that food is going to be sent directly to those other countries where we're serving and hand delivered by somebody from the church to reach out to those communities.
Wow, that's amazing. So the experience really brings your guests full circle from, yes, the heartbreak of these terrible conditions that some children and adults are living in around the world, but that there is hope. There are people dedicated to doing something about it, and even without leaving their own communities, your guests have the opportunity to roll up their sleeves and really help contribute. And that's amazing. The food that they're packing is being sent to the different countries, as you mentioned, 24 countries around the world.
Absolutely, and here in the U.S. as well. And we tell them, this throughout the tour, we've shown the problem, we've definitely highlighted, and we've seen the problem, but they get to be a part of the solution that day.
That's terrific. Now I can imagine that's kind of challenging. You have people donating food, and you have your guests packing the food after the experience. But it's got to be a challenge once you've got the food collected and packed to reach such remote places around the world. Can you tell us a little bit about that process?
Sure. It involves, as you could imagine, a lot of logistics. We're really high on our accountability as well, because we have to make sure that once it leaves our distribution center,
Okay.
that it's going to it has to make it to the ports, it has to clear customs, it has to go, once it travels across the oceans, that it's going to be received and distributed directly to the churches and then ultimately to the families who need it. So we really, it's a process by which we manage very closely to ensure that it's not being used, it's not being sold, or just thinking of Haiti, for example. I mean, a country that has very tumultuous government.
Right.
And just a lot of uncertainty. I mean, it could easily be taken and distributed not to the families who need
Sure.
it the most.
Sure.
And so we really rely on working with our partners that are in the country. Lots of relationship building. The
course.
focus of Children's Hunger Fund is really to build relationships with people, with churches, and with other non-profit organizations as well. And we work really closely with a lot of those partners to ensure that it's going to get where it needs to be.
That's so important. First and foremost, because you want those resources to get to your intended recipients. But also, I know this community and the community that you live in and surrounding communities have such a heart for giving. Much of our country does, and there's so much philanthropy that springs out of our community. But there's so many places to give. There's so many causes that we can adopt into our own hearts. But oftentimes, one of the first questions that we have as a giver, as a servant, is, will my service actually make that impact? Will it reach that intended recipient? Or is it going to go to administrative costs? Or is it going to be, like you said, siphoned off? Because oftentimes, these situations of such extreme poverty go hand in hand with corrupt governments or warlike situations that our intended benefits don't reach like I said, the target recipient. So those relationships are so important. I'd imagine you communicate very often with those that are actually handing food to those that need it.
Very frequently. And on top of that, each of our locations has one arm of our organization is known as Ministry Development, our MD team. And so they travel several times a year to go to those places. And so they meet with the churches and the pastors and the other organizations that are helping. And they are collecting stories and taking photos. And they go into the homes themselves. I had the unique privilege and blessing to be able last year to do one of those visits. And I got to go to Haiti and the Dominican Republic. And I was there. I was standing in what can best be described as a shanty home, living with people, 4 or 5 children in one bedroom, with grandma there as well. And we got to actually hand over that box of food and be able to pray with the family and encourage them and know that they have a deep connection with the local church there. And so it's just a unique way of doing ministry, of being able to actually send our people here out to those regions and locations a few times a year to really have that accountability factor, but also mainly for the relationship building factor as well.
It's an amazing and life-changing experience, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So as our listeners are listening, and especially as we get into the holiday season, our hearts turn toward giving. If our listeners were interested in getting involved with the Children's Hunger Fund or something similar, how can my church, my scout group, whatever organization I'm affiliated with, get involved and help support your mission?
Definitely. The first thing I would recommend is just becoming educated on what it is that we do and who the families are that we are serving. So the best way to do that is to bring them to Poverty Encounter. We're open 4 days a week. We are open to the public. So they would just go to povertyencounter.org and book their tickets so that we know the group size that's coming. programming. But yeah, it's for individuals, families, and as you mentioned, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts. We do field trips during the week, Tuesdays and Wednesdays. And they can come, take the tour, really get immersed in understanding what the types of families that we are serving and the suffering going on in the world, and then volunteer afterwards. Children's Hunger Fund also does regular volunteer shifts. So they have 4 times a week where families can just sign up, or individuals can sign up. Companies bring their employees, and they can just come and they can just volunteer if they want to volunteer only for 2 hours.
Okay.
So that's another opportunity to get involved.
Terrific. And that's povertyencounter.org.
Yes, it is.
You're very close by here in Sylmar, so it's something that maybe as the kids are going on vacation now, families or individuals, or as you mentioned, entire groups can make their reservations so that you know how many are coming. Can pop in, get themselves educated first, start with packing that first bag, and then if I want to go deeper from there and get involved at the level that some of your leadership is involved in, we take it from there. Wow, that's fantastic.
Absolutely. We actually just opened up a few extra shifts over the Christmas break
sure.
to be able to accommodate extra
a lot
groups.
going on around this time of year, yeah.
There is, and there's nothing better than coming as a family and really serving together and seeing the impact that you can make, and also walking away with a deeper understanding of just how blessed we are again in this country.
Wow, that's terrific. Now, I understand that you were kind of recruited away. I mentioned in my introduction that you worked a few years ago managing the Air Force One Discovery Center at the Barragan Library. Can you tell our listeners just a little bit about that cool experience and then how that led to what you're doing for the Children's Hunger Fund?
Yeah, it's a really neat story. I was I loved working at the Barragan Library. I still love all the people there, and it was working with kids. We actually had 25,000 kids a school year, as you mentioned, your son going through that program.
Yeah. He was so impressed by it.
And it really spoke to what I'm really passionate about, which is immersive learning. But one program that I founded while I was there in 2013 was the Ronald Reagan Student Leadership Program, specifically designed for high school students to be able to create an action plan that is going to improve a problem in their school or community. So really the social justice aspect of building student leaders. And one thing that we did in that program was we brought in community leaders mostly from nonprofits, but they could also be business leaders that would come in and they would mentor the students, and they would have lunch with them, and students would get to ask questions. So I learned about Children's Hunger Fund through actually one of a contact that came and learned about that. And so, they got to know me, I got to know them, and that's how eventually a door opened, and yes, they kind of recruited me out. I had to say yes.
You went to their organization to create kind of a similar immersive experience.
Yes.
To help serve some of these kids. Wow, that's an amazing parlay of 2 different experiences that are, like I said, totally different, but still in the same vein. Well, I congratulate you, and on behalf of so many around the world, I want to thank you. Unfortunately, we do have to take a short break. But you listeners will want to stay tuned. In just a few more minutes, we'll welcome in 2 more amazing young women who are changing the world in their own way. We'll be back with 2 SCVi alumni to hear the things that they're doing and have been doing since graduation at SCVi. Again, if you're interested in the Poverty Encounter, go to povertyencounter.org, make your reservations, and help change different areas around the world yourself, right here from home. This is SCVi Charter Schools Eye on the Valley. I'm your host, Matt Watson, on KHTS, your hometown station.
Experience the spirit of giving and the thrill of savings at the Outlets at Tejon, a holiday shopping destination unlike any other. Shop amazing deals during extended hours all month long to find the perfect gifts for everyone on your list. Save up to 65% on over 60 of the top brands in fashion, accessories, and home goods, like Coach Factory Store, Gymboree Outlet, H&M, Pottery Barn Outlet, Nike Factory Store, Michael Kors, Express Factory Outlet, and more. Outlets at Tejon, your must-shop stop for the holidays. Located just 40 minutes north off I-5. For sales and events, join the VIP Club online at TejonOutlets.com or find us on Facebook.
Give and get this holiday season at the outlets at Tejon, where every purchase of $50 or more gives you a chance to win a prize package from your favorite brands while helping local charities. Visit guest services for details. No purchase necessary, subject to official rules, ends December 24th.
The Art Gallery of Santa Clarita Artists Association, located in downtown Newhall on 6th Street between Railroad and Main, features local members' original artwork with changing exhibits every 2 months. Purchase affordable art for your home or as gifts. Open Friday through Sunday or by appointment. Artists wishing to join the SCAA can visit santaclaritaartist.org, come to our free monthly meetings at Barnes & Noble, or stop by the gallery. For upcoming shows, check us out at santaclaritaartist.org. We make visual art visible.
A little bit of North Poland comes to Santa Clarita, the pierogi spot on Golden Valley near Sam's Club. Hearty Polish dumplings stuffed with everything from potatoes and meat to fruit. Plump, puffy pockets of comfort food perfection. Family owned and operated, the pierogi spot also offers Polish sausage, stuffed cabbage rolls, and Polish hunter stew. Not to mention delicious dessert crepes and specialty cakes. Open 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. Wednesday through Sunday. Catering and private parties available. For more information, go to pierogispot.com or call 254-4850.
You see so much when you look at your child. A creative spirit that surprises you every day. Curiosity that develops into exploring unique passions. A little leader growing every day to discover who they are, what they love, and how they can make their mark on the world. At SCVi, we see those same amazing things. Our tuition-free K-12 charter school gives your child boundless opportunities to think critically and imagine freely, with a customized learning program built around each individual student. As iLead's founding school, SCVi combines an immersive approach to traditional subject learning with extracurricular activities including STEAM, robotics, theater, music, and sports. SCVi has the only international baccalaureate program in Santa Clarita, with a 10-year proven track record of graduates excelling at top universities. And we're in your backyard, just off the 5 freeway in West Santa Clarita Valley in Castaic. For enrollment information or to learn more about our program, including homeschool options, visit iLeadSantaClarita.org. iLead Schools, free to think, inspired to lead.
Your hometown station.
KHTS is the only station I listen to.
98.1 FM and AM 1220.
Welcome back. You're listening to KHTS, your hometown station. 1220 on the AM dial and 98.1 FM. I'm Matt Watson, and you're listening to SCVi Charter School's Eye on the Valley. We just had a beautiful conversation with Alissa Whiteley from the Children's Hunger Fund, where they're doing such important work to help feed some of our most needy and vulnerable neighbors here in our community as well as around the world. With the holidays in full swing, college students from around the country are coming home as well, and we're blessed to have 2 such students who are SCVi alums joining us in studio today. Most of our listeners know that SCVi is one of our Valley's premier charter schools, serving kindergarten through 12th grade. As a matter of fact, the only comprehensive kindergarten through 12th grade school in the Santa Clarita Valley. We focus heavily on developing well-rounded students who become not only lifelong learners, but confident leaders who contribute to making their world a better place for themselves and others. Samantha Raskin and Julia Barragan are with us in studio. Samantha enrolled at SCVi as one of our founding learners when she was in 4th grade, and she graduated. She's a graduate of the class of 2017. Samantha is currently a junior at Sarah Lawrence University in New York, where she studies liberal arts with an emphasis in acting. She's a recipient of a Dean's Scholarship and has also received the Sam Loeb Award at Cal State Northridge's Teenage Drama Workshop. The consummate artist and entrepreneur, she started 2 businesses while she was still in high school, both of which she's been able to sustain while she's away at school. And with her, Julia Barragan, first joined SCVi in 6th grade. A member of the class of 2016 and a recipient of SCVi's first annual Leadership Award and Scholarship. She's currently a senior at Sonoma State University in Northern California. She's been volunteering and serving in her community, well, pretty much all of her life. First here in Santa Clarita and now in Sonoma, both on campus and off campus. And over that time, she's developed a heart to serve people who find themselves at their most fragile states. And she also gives herself to be the strength for those who seem to have none left for themselves. Ladies, welcome, and thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, thank you.
Thank you.
So, Samantha, Julia, both of you are actually nearing college graduation now. Julia, you've got just one more semester, and Samantha, just a year and a half left. What's college been like? Has it been what you expected? Has it been what you hoped for?
I mean, a little bit of both. It's been an interesting journey, but I've definitely felt prepared, and yeah, it's been good.
Okay, Samantha?
I've loved college. It's funny. I always nickname my school SCVi University because it's so similar, and I found like the liberal arts education was so similar to my experience at SCVi. So while that was different than I expected, I found myself really enjoying having that continuation of that education.
Good. I'm glad to hear it was a smooth transition and you guys are doing well. As I mentioned in the intro, you both have found incredible ways of working and serving in your communities. You both started while you were still in school at SCVi. You know, it's one of the things that always impressed me as a teacher, as an educator. My goal was always to prepare my students for when they went off into the real world. But what I found at SCVi is the learners there, such as yourselves, kind of had this notion that you're already living in the real world and you can affect it now. You don't need to wait until graduation or moving along and becoming bigger before you can do really important things. And you guys are both doing that. You know, when I was in school, I got to be honest, I wasn't spending my free time volunteering and taking care of and lifting up other parts of the community. But you guys were doing just that, volunteering, taking care of your neighbors and starting businesses. You guys did that. Julia, can you tell us what inspired you early on to start volunteering and taking care of people in need in the community?
Yeah, so when I was in high school, I started volunteering at Safe Rides, which was an organization in Santa Clarita that would give free confidential rides home to teenagers who were under the influence. And a facilitator at SCVi actually got me involved in the organization, and that really shaped my passion for community service and community outreach.
That's beautiful. You know, I remember I was in high school actually when that organization was found as a response to what seemed to be another drunk driving tragedy involving the teenagers of Santa Clarita every weekend.
Yeah.
And it was a very powerful organization that was so helpful. So thank you for doing that. Sammy, how about you? You started not one but two businesses while you were in high school. Can you talk about those businesses? What were they, or what are they? Because you still run them today, right?
Yeah, I do. So one of them was a children's entertainment company. So we provide characters for children's birthday parties, children's events. We've done a lot of events at bookstores as well, and just educational events as well. And it's been a really wonderful thing doing that. I really have a passion for working with kids and spreading a little magic. So it's a great way to do that. And we're also transitioning into trying to bring characters to hospitals to visit sick kids as well.
Oh, great.
And my other business is I used to call it a youth theater company, but now it's kind of a mix between youth and professional, and that's called Menagerie Theater Works, and it's still alive and well. We've last summer we did 2 productions. We're continuing to do cabarets and fundraising this summer, and preparing for some much larger scale productions in the future.
Wow, that's fantastic. And like I asked Julia, what was it that inspired you? What made you even think that, you know, as a sophomore, junior in high school, you could open your own business and get started working now?
I was actually encouraged by a lot of my facilitators to create my theater company because I found I wanted to be doing more theater and reaching out to people and building connections with professionals and other students. And in going out into the world and starting to do more professional productions, I found that the theater culture at SCVi is very different from the theater culture everywhere else, and that young artists and students' voices weren't as valued, and that broke my heart because I found that young people have the best ideas, and those are the people who need to express themselves the most. So that's how my theater company was born, and I always strive to put students in positions of power in the company and give them a space to express their voice and their story and stories they find important, and giving them the tools to produce their own shows and be an actor or be a director or whatever they feel they want to go into.
Wow, that's fantastic. Now, even though the demands of college life are quite high, both of you have continued your work. Julia, I understand that you've taken on a couple of internships that you're quite passionate about. What group or groups are you affiliated with? Are you working with on campus and off campus? In what ways are you helping others who really seem to be feeling helpless or hopeless?
Yeah, so during my time at Sonoma State, I have been doing an internship with the Counseling and Psychological Services Center on campus, and through that I do education programs and tabling, just outreach to students about the services that the center provides. And I also receive mental health related training and really working to destigmatize mental illness. And so that's been really powerful. And I've also been doing an internship with the Confidential Advocate for Survivors of Sexual Assault on campus. And so also going into classrooms and doing presentations, just talking about rape culture and ending the stigma surrounding that as well. And just reaching out to people. And I've also been working at a nonprofit in Sonoma County, Santa Rosa specifically, called NAMI, which is National Alliance on Mental Illness. And I work on the Warm Line, which is the resource and referral line, just helping people find resources near them and telling them about support groups, seeing what they're going through, whether that is food insecurity, housing insecurity, other mental health related issues, and directing them, helping them find what they need.
That's amazing, Julia. You know, you mentioned something that is so important still in our society, destigmatizing the idea of mental health care. You know, I spoke with a friend just recently who talked about how he moved into a new community and all of his new neighbors were really friendly, and they came over and brought casseroles and talked about, hey, do you need an orthodontist? Our orthodontist is great, and I can direct you to, you've got kids, I've got the best pediatrician. He said, but you know what? Nobody came to me and told me, oh, I'm seeing the best therapist. If you need good mental health care, I know where to direct you. That's something that we still, in 2019, kind of whisper around corners. We don't even share with our family oftentimes. But, you know, I look forward to the day where we talk about, you know, bumping into our buddy watching the football game going, hey, dude, how you doing with your depression? Have you been seeing a therapist? Yeah. You know, that's something that we really need to take out of the dark, because people need to get the care to take care of themselves physically and emotionally. So thank you for doing that.
Yeah, definitely. And I think I've seen more young people starting to bring those conversations up. And I think it really is like our generation will be the one to break that stigma.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. And Sammy, you touched on it a little bit earlier. Your theater company does a bit more than just put on high-quality, entertaining productions, which they certainly are. But you've also established that mission to give a voice and opportunity to some actors that don't always have the occasion to tell their stories, through stories that have been told for 500-600 years now, giving a voice to, as you said, youth, giving them, kind of putting them on an even level playing field, but also some minority groups and groups that don't always get their stories out there. How do you do that with your theater company?
Yeah, so we focus on classical theater, so we usually produce the works of Ibsen, Chekhov, Shakespeare, that sort of thing, Tennessee Williams, and usually when you read those stories in high school or whenever you read them, they are written by old white men. And
hey, back off. There's nothing wrong with being an old white man.
No, nothing at all. But
I'm teasing you, Samantha. You're right, and I get it.
I think that it's so important to open up those stories and make them accessible to groups that don't find themselves represented in those stories. So we like reworking them and creating opportunities to tell the stories of people with disabilities, people of color, members of the LGBTQ community, women. We also like to, we've done this with a few productions, take a look at a character that maybe is just like labeled as insane or mad, and look at them and figure out what's actually going on with them from a 2019 standpoint, and really digging deep and finding out what is actually happening with these characters when they didn't have all of the language and the knowledge that we have now. So we really love focusing on being able to bring that accessibility and that diversity to all those old stories.
Well, yeah, because all those old stories are things that people are still reading constantly, whether it's in the Bible or the classic works of literature, like you said. Those characters are real, and the things that they suffered from are real. And for us today in 2019 to be able to connect with them kind of helps us bond and, like Julia said, move forward and getting the care that we need by identifying with other contemporary people or people from an earlier time. Mm-hmm. So for both of you, you've both done and are doing so much already. When you were at SCVi, was there anything specific that you found, whether it was from your teachers, who you mentioned we call facilitators, or the program there that inspired you or empowered you to become the leaders and the givers that you are?
I think thinking back, doing projects and having conversations about things like the IB Learner Profile and the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People just shaped who I was and what I was passionate about and what kind of work I wanted to go into and the things that I prioritize in my life and in my work, in my schoolwork, in my career moving forward. It was really beneficial, and it was something special that not a lot of schools focus on.
So you mentioned the IB Learner Profile and the 7 Habits. I'm sure many of our listeners are familiar with Stephen Covey's work around the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. At our school at SCVi, if Covey identified these habits that successful people all have in common, why wouldn't we teach those in our schools?
Right.
And indeed, we teach them even to our youngest kids. Our kindergartners learn what it means to be proactive and to synergize and to find a win-win. Samantha, how about you? What in your experience at SCVi helped prepare you for what you started at SCVi?
Well, I actually, like you said, I started it at SCVi with the help of facilitators, and I found that having a project-based learning environment really influenced me to go off and create this company, because we talk all the time about theoreticals at SCVi and even sometimes making it into the practical, and we synergize and we talk about all of our creative ideas and possibly putting them into action in the future, and so it really wasn't that much of a huge step to then create the actual company, because we talk so often about what it would be to create your own company and setting it up so perfectly to just then go and do it.
Wow. Wow, that's terrific. You guys have both done so much, as I said already, and you're still so young. So you've got so much in front of you still. And I'm sure you're probably getting sick of the question already, coming so close to graduation, Julia. But what do you guys think is next? Do you think you're going to continue kind of in the same vein in theater and entertainment, as well as crisis counseling? Or is there something, a different direction that you're going to be taking? What's next for you guys?
That is the big question. I definitely want to keep working, doing the same work that I've been doing, nonprofit work, mental health related field, possibly counseling, possibly grad school in the future. Yeah.
I love entertainment and art and found my passion in it, and I think with my study abroad experiences that I've recently had, I think I found my love for going off and traveling and finding other stories to tell. So hopefully more traveling around and going to fringe festivals, seeing what stories are being told there, and bringing all that education that I've been so lucky to have and bringing it back to the Santa Clarita Valley and continuing to share that information that I've learned with all of the students here, and continue with my company and the work we're doing.
What a fun way to do research and development for your business.
Yes.
Is to be traveling the world. You mentioned you did a semester abroad recently in London, which I'm sure the works that you do with the classics, that's been very helpful. And then next semester when you head back to school, you're heading a little bit further away, I understand, to the Czech Republic.
Yeah.
What are you looking forward to in the Czech Republic?
Well, I'm going to be studying film for the first time, and I actually fell into that by accident, but I found that it's going to be why I decided to go into it is because it's a way to make art so much more accessible. And sometimes I find that's a huge drawback to theater, that it's not accessible to everybody. So I'm hoping to bring that education that I find at Prague Film School and hopefully make all of our art more accessible to all types of people.
Wow, that's fantastic. So exciting. It's amazing the opportunity that you guys have been given, as I mentioned, even as early as high school. I know SCVi gives you the opportunity to get out into the community and serve. In fact, it becomes part of the curriculum, part of the required curriculum, that you do community service, that you do internships, and I know how well that's prepared you guys for what you've done in college. Clearly, our listeners can see that not only have you changed the world, you're continuing to change the world in your areas of passion, but you've got certainly a strong future ahead of you. We do have one more break coming up. I want to invite you guys to stick around. I want to go a little bit deeper. Julia, you mentioned the IB Learner Profile. I want to talk about that a little bit, and your role as female leaders in your community, which is such an inspiring story itself. But like I said, we do have to take a quick commercial break. Do stick around. We're going to continue our conversation with Julia Barragan and Samantha Raskin, graduates from SCVi Charter School. You'll also hear how you can get involved with some exciting things happening in your community. You are listening to SCVi Charter School's Eye on the Valley. I'm your host, Matt Watson, on your hometown station, KHTS.
Stone Oven, the healthy alternative. You've never tasted a sandwich like this before. Gourmet bread cooked before your eyes. Stone Oven at the food court at Valencia Town Center.
Save at the best Santa Clarita restaurants. Restaurant Row, where everything is half price. Click on hometownstation.com and discover incredible savings. Online or at our radio station, everyone saves with Restaurant Row. Check it out at hometownstation.com. Restaurant Row, where everything is half price.
We all know sometimes people lose their way. If you or someone you know is struggling with addiction, the Way Out Recovery SCV may have the answers you've been waiting for. The Way Out is the premier intensive outpatient treatment center serving Santa Clarita. Asking for help is the first step. Call The Way Out today, 661-296-4444. That's 296-4444 for a private free assessment. The Way Out is an accredited, affordable outpatient program that accepts most insurance. Call us at 661-296-4444 or check us out online at thewayoutrrecoveryscv.com. Quit battling with yourself. Ask The Way Out for help today.
This is Bradley Gross from Santa Clarita Grocery. Santa Clarita Grocery serves fresh groceries to families, individuals, and those experiencing homelessness. In this year-end season of giving, are you looking for a charity to do the most good for our community? At Santa Clarita Grocery, out of every dollar donated, a full 99 cents goes directly to the needs being addressed. As an all-volunteer-led organization, we operate on a 1% overhead, receiving no government funding for our operations in the community, resulting in us being one of the most efficient charities in the Santa Clarita Valley. If you are looking to support the good for our community, please consider partnering by donating to Santa Clarita Grocery. What is donated is specifically kept in Santa Clarita, helping over 3,000 families, including 5 other community charities. Please visit our website, santaclaritagrocery.org, or our Facebook, Santa Clarita Grocery, and or call our office to make a difference in our awesome town community at 425-7575. That's 425-7575.
Santa Clarita's premier senior living community, Oakmont of Santa Clarita, is leasing, bringing comfort and luxury to assisted living. Seniors can enjoy 5-star amenities, panoramic views, easy access to the freeways, and nearby shopping centers in a world-class community that provides an advanced continuum of care. No other community has this kind of luxury and amenities in our valley. You'll find good health, vitality, and purpose at Oakmont of Santa Clarita. Stop by for a tour. Visit oakmontofsantaclarita.com.
Mission Valley Bank puts the community in community banking. They strive to be your most trusted bank. Mission Valley Bank is happy to sponsor KHTS Holiday Music. Happy holidays!
This is Greg from Consumers Furniture Gallery. For the past 41 years, we pride ourselves on offering quality name brand furniture at unbeatable prices. We carry a huge selection of dining and bedroom furniture in the latest styles and designs. We also have the largest selection of sofas and sectionals in the Santa Clarita Valley. You can choose your style, fabrics, leathers, and colors, or have one of our experts design it for you. Our mattress gallery features over 50 beds featuring Diamond and Serta. Consumers Furniture is located in the Center Point Shopping Center below Sam's Club and Walmart.
Your hometown station, KHTS.
Welcome back. You're listening to KHTS, your hometown station, 1220 on the AM dial and FM at 98.1. This is Matt Watson with SCVi Charter Schools, Eye on the Valley. And I'm joined in studio today with Julia Barragan and Samantha Raskin, graduates from SCVi. Before the break, Julia, you brought up the IB Learner Profile, and I wanted to remind our listeners that IB is a program, a school program called the International Baccalaureate. SCVi happens to be the only IB school in the Santa Clarita Valley, and the International Baccalaureate program is an extremely rigorous academic program that covers all areas, not just English, math, science, but into the arts and foreign languages. The aim of the IB program is to develop internationally minded people who recognize the common humanity and share guardianship of the planet and help to create a better and more peaceful world like the two of you are doing. And they've established a profile for what young people like yourselves, IB learners, are. And that profile is people that strive to be inquirers, knowledgeable, thinkers, communicators, principled, open-minded, caring, risk-takers, balanced, and reflective, which certainly you ladies are. As you went through SCVi and beyond, are there any of those principles, those parts of the IB learner profile that have really resounded with you and something that's inspired you to grow?
Yeah, I think for me, one of the big ones is to be an inquirer. I've really found that in school and in my work, I need to keep questioning things and keep learning. And SCVi really instilled that lifelong learning mentality, and whether that is, technical things in your field or world issues, social justice issues, how what you are studying affects everyone, marginalized communities, and it's really helped having that profile of things to strive for.
Continuing to build on and feed that natural curiosity is so important. And I know in the IB program you had the opportunity to take a class called Theory of Knowledge, which kind of explores the idea of how do we really know what we know, and how do people learn what they learn and think about what they think about. Some really deep stuff, and that really spurs that natural curiosity. Samantha, what about you? What part of the IB profile inspires you?
I was actually going to say inquirer as well.
Okay, perfect. She stole my answer.
But as well as reflective. I think both of them are so important, not only to being a lifelong learner, but particularly to the artistic field. I think being an inquirer is so vitally important to art, and continuing to search and learn about your community and humanity at large, and as well as being open-minded and continuing to search for answers and learn more about others. And I said reflective as well. And I think particularly with my company, being reflective on history and what's gone on in history, and not only reflecting on your own history, but like the world, and tearing things apart, and being able to move forward in a different way and learn from your own mistakes and others, I think is such an important part to not only creating a company, but being a lifelong learner.
You're right. It is a huge part of the learning process, is reflecting on that learning, not just learning things, but then reflecting to see how that impacts you as an individual, and how that changes the world around you. Speaking of changing the world around us, I've had the opportunity on today's show to interview 3 women who are certainly leaders that are changing their community. And I come from a background that's really inspired by female leaders in our community. My mother is very active in the community. She was Woman of the Year in 2013, and our previous guest is helping to literally feed the world. Ladies, what does it mean to you to be a female who's a leader in her community?
Well, I have always grown up with strong women around me. So I've always had the idea that it doesn't matter whether you're a man or a woman, or something else, and you can do whatever it is you set your mind to. It has been such a blessing that I've been able to continue that legacy of being like a strong woman in the community. I always strive to continue to surround myself with other strong women who are leaders, and my company is actually made up of all women. Our main leadership is all women.
Oh, wow.
And that was very important to us, because we wanted to represent all different types of women as well, and all different from all different walks of life. I find that having women in leadership gives you such a different perspective, and it's so important for me to represent that.
Julia, who's inspired you, or who do you hope to inspire?
I think all of the women in my life have really inspired me, and I hope to inspire young girls and young people of all genders, and community work is so important, and so having women involved in smaller scale things can lead to huge change and equity for all genders.
You're absolutely right. You both touched on it. It's not necessarily about being a female this or that, or male, or from this community or that community. It's about the human experience, and about leveling the playing field for everyone, making sure that we all have access to the resources and care that we need, making sure that we all have opportunities to grow and tell our story like you guys have been able to do. I really want to thank you for joining me today. Your stories really are inspiring to me and our listeners, I know. And those of you that are listening, you may be thinking, wow, how can I get my kids enrolled in a school that helps prepare them like Julia and Samantha have been prepared? Well, SCVi is now enrolling. It's a free, tuition-free charter school, and all you need to do is go to our website at ileadsantaclarita.org or call 661-705-4820. That's ileadsantaclarita.org or 661-705-4820. You can sign up for a tour. You can even schedule a shadow day where your kid kind of test drives us and spends a day in our school alongside kids their age to see how it goes. Unfortunately, that is all the time that we have for today. Once again, Julia Barragan, Samantha Raskin, I want to thank you for joining me. Welcome home for the vacation. I hope you enjoy the time with your families. Continue to enjoy the time that you have left in school. It was great getting caught up, and congratulations on all you're accomplishing, and thank you on behalf of your community. And thank you for joining us. We will see you next time. You're listening to SCVi Charter School's Eye on the Valley. I'm your host, Matt Watson. Thank you for listening to your hometown station, KHTS.